Well, our last record came out, it was called Warnings and Promises, and it came out in 2004. And we did it? 2005? No, 2005, yeah. And by the end of the year, we kind of exhausted ourselves and exhausted kind of, I suppose, the band. And we finished with our record label because we'd run out of contract, I suppose. We just took some time off, some real proper time off, like 6 months of doing nothing. And I did a record, and Rod did a record, and with various people. And then we sort of started back about February, wasn't it? February this year.
February, yeah.
Gavin Fox, who was playing bass for the band previously, decided he didn't want to be in the band anymore. Mainly because we'd come to the end of something and everyone realised that, and he wanted to be at home and do different things musically, so he left. And Gareth Russell had been working with us the year before that. I had known Gareth for years. He's from the Isle of Lewis, and he's played in bands, and he's been around Glasgow for years. And he'd been working with us in a, how would you call it?
Technical capacity.
Yeah.
We could make up a really elaborate story about it, or we could just say that it was basically selling t-shirts and I was on tour with the band last year, and before that I'd known the guys anyway.
It wasn't like any sort of audition process or anything like that. I think it's very much the way that this band is, and the reason that we've, I suppose, done what a lot of bands don't manage to do, which is stay together for like 11 years now, is because we are sort of friends foremost, and I think it was made sense to have someone that we got on with, as well as being able to play the bass.
I suppose with our last label, as far as what went on in America and the rest of Europe, it became quite, you knew what was going to happen. It wasn't a good situation with the rest of the world, as it were, and we were getting really fed up with being put on long tours for kind of no reason, really.
Definitely, I think there was an element towards the end of the last record where we were kind of so dissatisfied with the way that things were kind of going, and the fact that we were, being sort of committed to doing things that were really kind of pointless, and that we didn't all necessarily want to be doing at that time. And there definitely was an element of like we needed a break, and we took this time off and did our other things that we wanted to do, and came back fresh with a sort of attitude that we were going to do this at our own pace.
We all enjoy writing songs together, and that's why we're still playing in the band together, really. I think it's really not any more complicated than that.
There's always been different ways of doing things, whether it be writing songs, a couple of us acoustically, and working on those ideas, or whether it be kind of working on musical ideas as a group, and then Roddy kind of fitting around that, or whether it be just all of us in a room coming up with ideas together, which is much more what this record's been like, I think, especially because we've been off doing other things on our own, and then just coming back into an environment with a new band and everybody being involved and just kind of enjoying playing together again, and songs kind of just came really quickly that way. It's been much more of a collaborative sort of group effort this time than it ever has
been. This record, we really wanted to just play it loud, like this is where we wrote, this room's where we wrote all the songs, and we recorded them here too. And I suppose it was, again, it's kind of a cliche, isn't it, getting back to the way, because that's how we wrote songs when we first started the group, and that's how we wrote the songs for this record.
It's just, let's write 12 songs and record them and see what kind of record it is. And that was very much the approach that we had this time. It was just like everybody kind of get together and play, and let's see what this new band with a new dynamic, what kind of music comes out, and that was what came out.
The seconds changed, secure of everything. If I could make
it's a frustrating process, definitely, when you're on a major label and you have to kind of listen to people's opinions that you don't really want to listen to all the time. And not having that around, having the freedom to do what we wanted to do, was a big sort of positive change for us.
So there's something still compelling to me about walking into a space like this and, 2 hours later leaving it when you've made a song.
In a way, I try not to get jealous about the guys being in LA for 9 weeks recording the last record, Russ South has its charms.
It is the same people, and we did record the whole record in our practice space with Dave Eringa, who's done a lot of records with us in the past and we have a real relationship with. Almost, without wishing to sound cheesy, he is kind of like a member of the band in a way that he understands how we play together and our strengths and our weaknesses. And we did it in 2 weeks, recorded it in here in 2 weeks.
Certainly, I think because the last record was so kind of confused between rock music and folk music, I think doing this folk record with Roddy, and me doing another record myself with someone else, it's kind of allowed us to get a lot of the kind of folk influence stuff not out of our system, but we've kind of done that in other ways. And with this band, all we really wanted to do then was make a rock record.
It's like forming a band again, that same sort of feeling, but obviously being 10 years old, I was 19 when I formed the band and I'm 30, so it's quite, I'm a different person, but it does feel the same way, sort of, when you don't have to impress anyone else but yourself.
When we were playing loud, fast rock music, everybody was listening to acoustic music, and then our software record came out and it was all... We've just never been in step with kind of the popular, what's going on in guitar music, I suppose. Which is probably why we're still making, our 5th record.
You could break me by the bones until you break me inside. You could drag me from my home.
So yeah, with Make Another World, we just kind of went back to the way we actually were to begin with. Like I said, just writing songs in the practice space and not dwelling too much on bridges or verses, just kind of getting on with it. And I think that's why the record sounds the way it does. And If It Takes You Home, which is like a limited edition 7-inch they're putting out, is just the sort of a brash reminder of, I suppose, what the band, used to sound like.
If it takes you